Hey everybody, welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and today we're going to the Marvel Comics universe to take a look at a brand new statue from Diamond Select. And this one here is a big boy, and that's not an understatement. Today we're taking a look at from the Marvel Gallery series, Beta Ray Bill. And you guys can already see that by the size of this box. This thing is pretty darn massive, to put it lightly. Yeah, it's pretty big. It's a very beefy statue, and I can tell you just from looking at it right here. But before we go ahead and crack this guy open, let's just talk about this packaging real fast. And it's like every single other Diamond Select box that's out there when it comes to their PVC figure dioramas. And one of the nicest things about it is that you get great big windows on the left, the right, and the front, so you can see exactly what you're getting when you go to pick this up. And likewise, one of the best things about all these Diamond Select packages is their sunroof on top. As far as the graphic design of the box goes, it's basically just a very dark tone that kind of turns into this crimson tone at the bottom. But I do really like Beta Ray Bill's font here. I really like this logo here. And I'm not entirely sure if it's meant to be like this, but it reminds me a lot of the recent Daniel Warren Johnson miniseries that was done about Beta Ray Bill, which, by the way, if you haven't read that, highly recommend it, especially if you're a pro wrestling fan, because DWJ is a big wrestling fan. So if you ever want to see Beta Ray Bill do the Rainmaker, well, you better go check out that comic. The back of the box has a large image of the statue in action and gives you a little bit of a preview of what we're going to be seeing in a few moments, as well as a really incredibly lengthy bio, very informative bio here in the back of this box. It tells you a ton of information about this Walt Simonson creation here. It's awesome looking, and I'm really frankly impressed by the size of this. But most importantly, it lets us know who designed and sculpted this piece, and both of those duties went to Alterton. In the past on this channel, we've usually seen Alterton teaming up with Caesar, and I call those two guys a dynamic duo. In this case, this is a 100% Alterton production, so very excited to see what he's doing on his own with this guy here. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and take our Beta Ray Bill out of the packaging and get a closer look at him from all angles. Alright, and here is our Beta Ray Bill. He is out of the box, and man, impressive is one word for it, but I'm sure I'm going to think of a whole lot more as we start taking a closer look at the statue. Let me go ahead and start things off by giving this a quick rotation so that you can see this from every angle, because there's a lot to see here. So I usually say this with action figure reviews, and I know I've said it a few times here with the statues, but when Diamond Select does big characters, that's when they really shine. And they made Beta Ray Bill enormous here. There's no doubt in my mind, like, this is meant to kind of be very heavily inspired by the original version that Walt Simonson drew, but man, point being, this guy's enormous. He is jacked, he's huge, and this thing is just astounding to take a look at. So yeah, check out that cape even. Like, man, this guy feels like we're looking at a god, even though he's not. In this case, he's a weird horse alien dude, but yeah, there's a lot of really wonderful sensibilities and feelings that you get from this statue here. So yeah, let's go ahead and start by taking now a closer look at our Beta Ray Bill's face here, and let's talk about whether or not this looks like Beta Ray Bill. So yeah, I don't remember the exact name of the species of what he is, and I'm sure you guys in the comments can help me figure that one out, but I am very familiar with how he looks, and they did a really great job figuring out how he's going to look here. You know, there's been a few action figures of Beta Ray Bill, we should add, but over the years, you know, not a ton, but there's been enough. There's been plenty, although you can never have too many. But he's got a real unique face and a really weird head, and I think even in the comics, quite often he usually does have a very small head and a pretty large body. Normally that's the kind of thing where I would complain about it, but I do know that when it comes to Alterton, for example, he really likes doing smaller heads with very enormous, jacked, massive bodies, and Beta Ray Bill here is no exception to that, as we'll get to. But I think the face, though, it's great. Like, this is perfect. This definitely looks like Beta Ray Bill. This is exactly what I was hoping for with him. Every little detail is there, and granted, there's not typically like a ton of details. There's not really a likeness, but there is like his signature, well, jaw, number one. His jawline is pretty notable, but also his brow, the way his eyes are. Like, yeah, so pretty much all the different elements that would make Beta Ray Bill who he is, they're all present in this, all present and accounted for. So great job, excellent job there. Also, since we're up top here, let's talk about this really cool helmet he has. This is the classic Beta Ray Bill helmet with the little wings on the sides, you know, just like Thor would have had as well. You know, great metallic detail on them, nice shine on them. These are very nice little wings. Even got a little pointy bit on top there. So just, you know, great choices all around on this piece here. Looking very solid already, just from the head alone. But let's start talking about the body now, because that's where a lot of this action is going down here. And you guys already saw, you know, this guy's big. He's a big boy. This is a very big boy. So yeah, let's go ahead and just pull out the camera for a second and give you just a better glimpse at everything that we're dealing with today as much as we can, because man, is this guy big. And what's really cool about this piece too is like he is literally coming right at you. Like the way this entire piece is posed, you can see it better as we kind of scroll down here, like you can see he's on his back leg here. He's not really even actually on anything because technically he's on just this kind of pile of clouds, which I presume is clouds anyway, but he's leaping in air. He is jumping at something or flying towards something. The cape is billowing behind him. So this is a real action-packed pose, and that action is just coming right for you. And it looks great. This is a stellar pose, stellar job with the anatomy as well, and just great feeling of energy. I mean, I love it from this angle. Like, this might be my favorite way to look at this piece. And don't get me wrong, it's really wonderful from head on. But because of how the body is, because of how the head is shaped and everything, how small it is, you know, this looks really cool to me. I like this, but I really like him at this angle more, especially this, or even just like for the camera a little more of a 3/4, but I feel like this is the best way to really get all that Beta Ray Bill energy and really tell the full story of the piece, which is him jumping into action. Now, as we look more at the outfit too, you can also notice it's very heavily inspired by that Walt Simonson outfit from when he first debuted, you know, with the weird Kirby style chest things, little chest round orbs. I don't know what the heck they call these things, but the Thor look. Likewise, the belt, the boots, especially with Stormbreaker over here. This is like Stormbreaker straight out of those original comics. Let's get a better look at that, in fact. It's such a cool looking weapon too. Nice job. Again, beautiful golden shine to it. Looks really great, nice and smooth too, which is pretty cool. It's got this little handle here, nice and solid piece. And also really digging the hands. Let me give you guys a little bit of a turn as well so you can see more of it from this side. Really liking how the hands look. Man, this looks good. The hands also have a little bit of a texture to them. Not a lot, a little bit of texture. At first I was wondering if that was just like the paint cracking, but no, that actually is sculpted texture meant to make these feel like they're leather gloves. And I think we could probably say the same about the opposite side as well, so we get a better look at that. Yeah, same nice texture, and it's a really good texture. I mean, really take a good look at that and look at all the little nooks and crannies. All that sort of porous leather detail looks really nice. Like, I even love the seams. Like, yeah, they actually even added seams into this. So a lot of wonderful detail went into this piece here. And let's talk a little bit more about the texture of Beta Ray Bill, in fact, because there is some here. In fact, if we can touch his skin, you'll notice too, it's got some detail on it. You know, it's not like the smooth skin you normally would find on a human character. Beta Ray Bill's skin is a lot rougher, so it's got more of a different texture to it, which separates it from other characters. And even his shoulder pauldrons as well, they have this nice little sort of oval pattern that's on them, which is really nice, cool little textural touch to it. His outfit as well, it's kind of a similar texture to the gloves, but a little bit different. You know, I will admit it's a little different. So you're not going to get the same texture throughout the entire piece. They are kind of mixing it up a little bit. And I mean, I'd say now, I didn't mean to pose it this way, but again, just look how good this looks from this angle. I mean, man, all the strength and everything is coming right from here. I don't think it quite looks as good from this side. No, because you kind of like, from this side, you really see how small his head looks compared to the rest of his like enormous body, because let's really talk about this here for a second here. So this is really very much a thing that Alderton is known for. He does these giant, massive, hulking bodies. I mean, we saw it with the Venom piece we looked at recently on this channel. We saw it a while back, the one that sticks out in my mind the most, a while back with a Mr. Sinister piece that God, that was like years ago now, but I remember saying back then how it looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but with a tiny little pea head and a massive body, and yeah, this is kind of like the same thing here. Beta Ray Bill's head, it's very small. It's completely, I would say, disproportionate to his body, but this barrel-chested guy is coming at you. I mean, his legs are like tree trunks. There's so much muscularness here. Muscularity? I don't know what the word is. I'm going to say vascularity. That's more veiny, but yes, he actually does have some of that going on too, I just realized. You know, talk about vascularity. I mean, look at the veins he's got going on those biceps right there. Which way did the gun show? Oh, right there. But yeah, you can really see like on the chest how big his pecs are, the muscles that are kind of rippling through his legs. I really like the fabric, how it scrunches up here. It looks very realistic. You know, Alderton is great with getting the sort of fabric details in there. You know, likewise too, this knee, I know it's a weird thing to talk about, but I think this knee is really cool, and I really just like the different shapes that we're seeing here. This feels very much, you know, again, I know this is a Walt Simonson character, but there's a lot of Kirby influences on it, and you could really feel that, I think, with the design of this and the types of shapes that we're using, that we're seeing in this. So, you know, this is Alderton kind of doing his take of these two different things together, and I think it really works very nicely. You know, different texture, the repetition of line, and really, you know, it's a weird thing to say, but since it is a three-dimensional piece, but you can really feel the volume of this character. Like, this is a character that really fills the space, and especially when I'm doing photography of this today, it really fills the frame. and it frames up so easily too, especially from this angle. Again, other angles maybe not so much, but from this angle right here, I mean, this guy just looks so massive, and I want to use the word voluptuous. I don't know if that's the right word to use here, but it kind of does feel that way. So yeah, just great pose. Let's talk a little bit also about his cape, because we already showed you that a little bit earlier here. But yeah, the cape is likewise very nice. It's a very big cape, and it's kind of billowing, adding a lot more verticality to the piece here, because Beta Ray Bill is such a wide character. You kind of need something vertical to help center him and ground him a little bit more into the space, and I think the cape is doing just that, but it's also kind of repeating his pose in some ways. If you really start to look at it, it's almost like repeating his head. But yeah, you can see how it's kind of like curving and almost mimicking the curve of his spine. It's very much kind of mirroring what we're seeing in the piece already. And that's nice because it helps to tie everything together. That's always an important part of these statues, is having something uniform to cement the piece, to make it feel like it's in one world, not two different pieces doing their own separate things. And that cape is definitely doing that. Now, another really cool part about this is the base. It's not the most exciting base compared to like a lot of other bases we've seen in the past. I'm not even going to do like a rotation on it. I'm just going to rotate it like this. I'm pretty sure it's just a bunch of clouds, so he's probably just jumping around on the clouds. Yeah. There's big mounds of translucent plastic. Nothing like super wild or amazing to talk about here, but they're nice. And what's good to know is that he is fairly balanced in this too. You can see here the reason why he's balanced, because there is this extra little bit of platform here, and you can see that now from the bottom. This is what's really keeping him in place and making sure he's not flopping over, because that could be an issue. You know, I remember people actually saying, going back to the Sinister, that they had some issues, some people did, with the character kind of flopping over the years or falling down. Just being unbalanced, and that wasn't nearly as dynamic as this piece is. But you know, when you look at this Beta Ray Bill, I mean, he's really staying in the spot, and he's holding his weight really nicely. That's very much thanks to this base. So yeah, don't remove this part. It's not removable anyway, but don't get rid of it. It's meant to be there. And it's worth noting that there actually is a little tiny additional plastic piece that's in the packaging for Beta Ray Bill. I don't know what that thing does. I'm assuming it's meant to help him stand up, or maybe, I don't know. I mean, if anything, I think it's big enough to maybe go from like the base to his foot, so maybe it's some extra support. I don't quite know what it is. I couldn't figure it out. But yeah, that's what the piece is there for. If I do figure it out, I'll let you guys know in the comments. I'll see if I get some comments from the folks over at Diamond. But yeah, this is a really, really nice piece. Man, you know, I really like Beta Ray Bill. I feel like there's never been enough merchandise of him. And this one here is a real great way to have something with him in your collection that just looks really, really spectacular. I mean, you want to talk about heroic, like this is a real heroic piece. This is what I think of when I want to think about Thor and Thor-type characters. I want something that feels very epic. And I think that is the best word if I was going to describe the statue in one word. That's epic. This feels that way. Like, this is a big character who is larger than life, who does feel like godlike. He feels very much like a titan even. You know, it's a very Titanic feeling piece. You've got this great energy to it. Wonderful flow with the cape. You know, the clouds are kind of puffy and soft, mirroring all the hard edges, but still also mirroring the roundness of Beta Ray Bill here. There's a lot going on with this piece, you guys. So yeah, this is definitely going to be one of my favorites of the year, and I highly recommend this one for you guys as well. So if you want to pick up this Beta Ray Bill statue for yourself, go ahead and check out the links in my description of this video below. I'm going to have some spots to a few different places where you can pick them up for yourself. If you use any of those links, it helps out this YouTube channel at no extra cost to you. And again, I very much am highly recommending this piece here. I think Diamond did a resin Beta Ray Bill not too long ago, but that's going to cost you about $200 or so, maybe even more. There's other pieces from Sideshow and other places that are resin, much higher end, way more expensive. This guy here, we're talking, I believe, a $60 statue. I think he's around $60 now, because that's the price for these guys these days. And that's a good price for a very solid, very heavy, sturdy piece from Diamond. So yeah, that is the Marble Gallery diorama, PVC diorama, I should say, statue of Beta Ray Bill from Diamond Select, made by Alterton. This is a gorgeous looking piece here. Can't get over it. Highly recommend you add it to your collection. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys here next time on more reviews and everything else we do here on the channel.